culturally sensitive robots as a service. I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Dr. Travis Deyle, co-founder and CEO of Cobalt Robotics. Welcome, Dr. Deyle.
Thank you.
What does Cobalt Robotics do, and what motivated you to start the company?
Cobalt is building indoor robots for workplaces. So robots that help with safety, security, employee happiness, and emergency response. Our robots were created to solve a problem. Early on, I just departed Google in their moonshot division and set out in search of interesting problems with an old buddy of mine. And we just started going out to talking to people about their everyday problems. We literally would sit down with people largely outside of technology and say, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you have us do? And one of the people we spoke with was an old friend of mine who happened to be the head of physical security at a major tech company. So we asked him that question, and he told us bluntly, I know you made healthcare robots 15 years ago, these robots that were helping fetch and deliver medication for older adults, helping quadriplegics shave their face. Why can't we have these robots in our workplace to keep employees healthy, happy, and productive? And so what we did is we set out to build an autonomous system that could blend the best parts of the machine with a remote human being to provide a security service that was both cost-effective and culturally relevant.
Well, that's an interesting story for sure. You're actually on a panel at South by Southwest 2019 called Academia and the Rise of Commercial Robotics. What role did your academic background play in bringing robots out of the lab and into the real world?
Everything about robotics has improved over the last decade. And all of the technologies that we're deploying now trace their roots back to academia. When you look back, the first mobile robot ever was a robot named Shaky from the mid-1960s. And one of its intended applications was physical security. So this is a very old idea. But when you look back to, like, for example, my PhD in robotics, it was all about getting robots out of the lab and putting them in real human environments. Because the biggest challenge in robotics is out there in the real world, not in your lab environment. In fact, I think I was the first person to ever have one of these large robots in my own home. Back in 2007, I had taken this robot we built from scratch and had it, picking stuff up off the floor, turning on and off the lights, experiencing cat-related robot failures. It was an exciting time. Now we're finally at a stage where we can roll those systems out of academia and find real use cases in human environments to provide a lot of value and to do all of it cost effectively.
The Cobalt robot is actually designed to be a friendly office robot. So what considerations did you need to put in place in designing the robot that make humans actually want to embrace it in the workplace?
Yeah, I believe that the biggest impediment to robot adoption today is largely cultural. And so when you think about a robot that's moving through your indoor spaces, it's a very visible piece of technology. And it's not trying to be big bad RoboCop security guard. The robot is there to be friendly, be approachable, to blend into the background most of the time, but come to the forefront and engage with people when and where it's useful. And so we did things like designing the robot to have this soft fabric exterior, almost like wearing clothes, so that it sort of softens it. It makes it, you want to come up and touch the robot. And, it is actually soft. You can come up and give the robot a hug. And then beyond that, it's about the location and placement of sensors to engage with people. So having microphones and cameras in the right spot, having safety critical sensors in the right spot, and then fundamentally having a screen right there in front where a remote human being can interact with you by way of the robot. And so while yes, we build a robot and it has lots of AI and machine learning running inside, the biggest thing that we are doing is developing a tool that lets one remote human being be in many places at once and then pull them in at the right time and place to respond to security or safety relevant incidents as they happen.
Your robot doesn't look like a human like many do, but what was the that you had to address in order to focus on certain cultural issues?
Yeah, so the choice to make our robot not humanoid was very intentional. When a robot has a human form factor, you expect that the robot has human-like capabilities. And unfortunately, for anyone who's interacted with voice assistants, whether it's Siri, Google Home, Amazon Alexa, these systems, they don't always get it right. And when you're dealing with a capability around security and safety, you need to make sure you get it right all the time. It's not okay to have misunderstandings. And so we were very conscious about deciding we don't want the robot to be humanoid because the capabilities and the reality today don't match. So instead, what we went for was trying to make the robot like an intelligent piece of office furniture. And then again, trying to emphasize human interaction when and where it's useful. And so we don't want the robot acting as an agent on its own behalf. It really is a tool to enable human-to-human communication.
What technologies did you have to perfect to reach those cultural goals? And what technological hurdles are you working to overcome for the next generation of office robots?
So yeah, this is an interesting question in robotics. So robotics is all about exploiting constraints. And so for us, we work in indoor spaces. We know that those spaces are ADA compliant, that they have to support an electric wheelchair moving through, right? And so we know the mechanical specifications. By and large, we know the communications methods like good Wi-Fi, good cellular connectivity, the specific sensors that we can deploy indoors. It's not like an autonomous car outdoors making decisions every 30 milliseconds that can, potentially impact people's lives. Like they are a deadly tool outside. Indoors is very different. We can always stop, remote in a person to help overcome both the security incidents, but also any robot-related challenges. So the security robots we build are interesting in that they were probably tractable from a technology perspective even a decade ago. The thing that makes it really compelling now is that the capabilities and the price points are so much better that we can deliver a service that is cost-effective today. And so we are using best in class on a lot of these capabilities and integrating them together and really creating a service. So we don't sell robots. We actually sell, safety and security services for these workplaces instead of a robot itself.
Explain the evolution of robots as a service.
In our industry, so much of the security and safety world is actually a service. So if you think you're hiring a guard or you're installing cameras and monitoring those cameras, they think of it as an OpEx expenditure, as an operations expenditure. For us, it's all about future-proofing. So the technologies that are integrated into our robot, they change so fast. The sensor that we use for safety is, it's very similar to actually like a Microsoft Kinect, right? This sensor that produces this dense 3D point cloud of the world so that the robot can safely move around static and dynamic obstacles. Those sensors today are like $200. 10 years ago, they were $15,000. And so we want to be able to always provide the best, most capable system we can. And by offering the robot as a service, you're focusing on the end capability and not on a hardware configuration as it exists today. So yeah, basically it lets us always focus on the most up-to-date sensing, the most up-to-date computation, the most up-to-date capabilities around a service that in our case is physical security.
Dr. Travis Deyle, co-founder and CEO at Cobalt Robotics. If somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
I recommend visiting our website, cobaltrobotics.com.
Sounds good. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to my website, tonyahall.net. I've got links to all my social sites. Thanks for watching.